All right, click the links to join channel here over at Subscribestar. So D&D future films, they say must be lower budget if they follow this up, and they want to because it's like you have something that kind of naturally leads into a series, even though when they made it they said it wasn't, but that's a lie. When they say that, like, oh, it's just going to be a one-off film, yeah, that BS. If there's any potential for it to, oh, gee, the movie was a massive, massive hit. You sure you only want to do one? Oh, well, we changed our mind. Yeah, it was intended to be a series the whole time. Yeah, you always say that. So the new future films coming from Paramount have to be low budget because they're going to be just woke atrocities, and they know the audience is not going to go along with them, which begs the question, so why exactly are you doing that? Why don't you just make something that connects with an audience? And they look at you like, what do you mean, not make it woke, not swap out the characters, just like give the audience what they'll pay for? Yeah, why don't you do that? Nazi says what? That's their argument. So some people in the comments are saying that this movie wasn't too bad, but I look at the cast, I just look at this and go, no, absolutely not, because I have movie post-traumatic cringe syndrome from Mary Sue's and Purse Puppies. So if I see Pac's characters, I know what I'm getting because they're going to be flat with zero nuance, where the Chris Pine characters, or people who look like him, are going to be the most interesting characters in any movie because they can have depth to them. They can have a hero's journey. Because if you made a Pac's character multifaceted with positive and negative traits, Twitter would lose their freaking... They would write whole essays, and all the like Kotaku, CBR, Mary Sue, all those kind of... pseudo, yellow journalism type of magazines would just extend this out for weeks on end. It would just, you'd never hear the end of it. So you just can't make those characters with any nuance whatsoever. So what's the point in seeing the characters when, like, as soon as you see the skin color, you know the character's alpha and omega. There's no journey for it. They're finished characters. They can't grow, because the only growth they have is to go from great characters at the start to god status, like they did with what's that chick's name in Star Wars? Like, you seem to turn her into like something way better than any Jedi that ever came before, which is kind of weird because it didn't seem like there's enough of a build up and whatever. I mean, Have Vagina will travel to the absolute god tier status, even if so. The training montage, you're floating and you're doing flips in the air and you're levitating a mountain. Wasn't Vader and Luke, weren't they like the most powerful guys, and they couldn't, whatever. Anyway, so Paramount has got two pieces of news. This looks like cosplay at a theme park. The animation thing, which I'll do in the next video, where Paramount is kind of being honest, admitting failure. They go, yeah, we're not going to do any new animation. We're just going to do old IPs because we know nobody's going to be on board with anything new, which is like where Hollywood is going. What you're going to see in the next 5 years is a fundamental restructure of Hollywood. But then you have this Dungeons and Dragons bit, which extrapolate beyond just one movie and one studio, because in case you haven't noticed, Hollywood is having some serious issues across the big screen and on streaming. Maybe with TV also, but it's just not as big a market segment as it used to be. It feels like they kind of peaked with that last big Avenger movie, and then Star Wars finished up their trilogy, and they weren't able to capitalize on Star Wars in any capacity, whether on the big screen or on streaming. And now it feels like it's declined. There are some big hits, but they're outweighed by the losses. Avatar and Mario and Barbie have done pretty well. And there's a couple others, but overall, Hollywood has got some serious red ink. The past, I think, 3 years of Disney films have a net loss of $900 million on just movies that either underperform or flat out bomb to the tune of $100 million loss here, $50 million there. It's like, yeah, that adds up. So far, it's almost $1 billion. So they own Star Wars, the brand, and they can't get anyone to watch the half dozen streaming shows they have. People start off with the Mando, and then they kind of just lost interest. They own Marvel, and they have more than that. They've got like a dozen superhero shows. Most underperformed. There are a few hits on there, but the bombs, I think, hurt the brand more than the hits help it. At least kind of that's the vibe I'm getting from it. And people are also getting a clue that Disney is not it's not the family-friendly company of the 90s or early 2000s. And they also own Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean. Just the massive, huge IPs with name recognition. And they killed those IPs. It's really a freaking... It's really a bizarre company. They've got IPs, including their own name, Disney, with the best name recognition on earth for entertainment, or at least it used to be family-friendly entertainment, and they're screwing it all up. It's like they don't want to make money or give the customer what they want. They want to make propaganda, and they don't care if they lose money doing it. And Paramount's in the same boat. All of Hollywood is going in this direction. I don't think there's one studio that's trying to tack off to a different path. They're all going so far left, and they're not taking the audience with them. In fact, Barbie, I think, is going to hurt them and Hollywood in general overall, because they used a marketing trick that they can't use twice. They got lightning in a bottle. They took a bad movie, and it's going to hit at least $700 million. And some other people think it's going to go higher on a $150 million budget. It might go, who knows how high it can go with streaming and sales of, the hard copies. And then the merchandise is probably going to do pretty well, but it's probably not merchandise for kids. It's probably merchandise for adult women wearing, I don't know, Barbie t-shirts or something. But the problem is it's a bad movie that they got so lucky with. So this is going to, I think, inspire other studios to obviously try to repeat this with another woke chick flick, except they're going to swap out Margot Robbie, who was the pretty blonde in the lead, for something that is more woke and less blonde, and also has less audience appeal. So the thing that helped work for the show, the movie that's getting it to a really, really good return on investment. You're going to take the thing, the cute blonde at the centerpiece of the movie, two blonde characters at the centerpiece, and then you're going to we'll do the same kind of similar thing, but we'll swap out the main characters for Pox Walks or something like this. Okay, well, I mean, I kind of think that was an integral part of the story. No. People are fungible. It doesn't matter. I think you're going to find out it does matter. That, it's like you'll learn, oh, hey, what happened? Our movie lost $50 million. Let's repeat it again until the company goes out of business. So Barbie's going to get a sequel. So I don't know how you're going to do that. They're going to fight the patriarchy twice. Oh, hey, I went to the gynecologist again. My vagina. Yeah, I feel like every left-wing chick is just fascinated by what's between her legs. It's freaking bizarre. Good luck with a Barbie sequel. Now we're going to do a whole series of fighting the patriarchy over and over. Yeah, that sounds like hell. But this example of D&D, which has got Chris Pine in it, who is a well-known actor that nobody cares about, like Chris Hemsworth. They're in big films, but they're not the drawing power. And someone pointed out Chris Pine has been in 4 bombs. This is the 4th bomb he's been in. Wonder Woman 84 was probably his big one. They said that one of the Star Treks too. I didn't realize that bombed. So half the reason I chose this article to cover was because the thumbnail was so asinine. And yes, if SJW heard that, they'd be, how dare you say that a Pox Walks is a silly cover? Well, I mean, would it be okay if it was anyone else? If it wasn't a Pox Walks, but it was still people on there? Like, that's okay? I thought you guys wanted to treat people equally. Like, no, that's a bullshit right from the very start. Does this look like Dungeons and Dragons? Now, if you're woke, you'll lie and say, of course it does, you bigot. But then stop right there. Why didn't you pay to see the movie? The budget on this was $150 million, and the gross total was $200 million. Now, I'm honest, I look at this and go, this looks absolutely ridiculous. It's not what I remember D&D to be, but I'm, of course, Hugo Boss and totally intolerant for stating the obvious. People want curative treatment of their IPs, and these globalists want transformative. Because to them, everything is a vector to spread the disease of globalism. So to all the SJWs who get triggered, why didn't they watch She-Hulk, The Witcher, Willow, Rings of Power, The Wheel of Time? Where Amazon had Wheel of Time, Robert Jordan's book. What happened to that? That thing came on the radar and just disappeared. Nobody talked about it. It came on and nobody talked about it even as it came on. It's like it just got ignored. Oh no, we're waiting for Rings of Power. It's going to be the next big thing. Oh, what happened to Rings of Power? I didn't do so well. Because it doesn't look like Lord of the Rings. How dare you say the obvious that everyone's thinking? And then Charlie's Angels and Terminator XX and Birds of Prey. And that's just the stuff that came off the top of my head. We look at woke race swap cancer and call it like it is. It's the reason we don't pay to see it. The Twitter kids say they love it, but then they don't go pay to see it, which is the only metric that matters. Not what you say you want, but what you'll actually put money down for. But we're the bad guys because we're honest. It's like people will say all kinds of things about all kinds of things, but when somebody says it and there's money attached, it's like, oh well, that matters because it matters to them. It matters to you that you spent $16, you left the house, you went to a theater, and you actually sat and watched. It's like that mattered to you, and that means something. And like SJWs just think they make these movies and they think, oh, it just needs to be out there. It does. No, I mean, that's just part of the equation, but it has to also be paid for. It's like, oh, well, the money will just kind of materialize. Anyway, they don't watch this stuff that they say they would love to watch. And the thing is, if more people just got on social media and were honest about what they want, it would start shifting the window to the right. You don't have to passively accept the mental soy slop from Hollywood. All they have are ad hominem attacks, deflection, and straw men. And this does not look like a $150 million movie. This looks like a straight to video type of thing. The thing is, they go like, well, why does it matter to you that they swapped out a character? Because it's no longer the character. If it didn't matter, you would have left in the original character. They babble about representation. Great. Represent the original character. Simply write a new story if you want something new. But they don't want something new. And one, they can't create. They want to subvert and corrupt your characters. Then the SJWs literally won't pay to watch it, and yet they'll only blame you or men in general for some reason. Like Birds of Prey and Charlie's Angels. Men didn't turn up for these movies. The movies weren't made for men. They're made for women. Women don't watch these kind of movies. Then why'd you make the movie in the first place? And they look at you and it's like they don't have an answer to that because they know the answer. Like every direction they go in is stupid. These movies aren't for men. These movies aren't for men. They said that before the movies came out, and the men didn't show up. And then it's just as ridiculous as it sounds. Anyway, this doesn't look like D&D because this doesn't look like the original. There's no counter argument that you can make. If a buyer-seller relationship with a binary decision, this is a deal breaker. This is not worth spending your money on. So I look at this and ask, are these Pox people who are heavily featured in this cast? Are they your core audience? And do a test run, a focus group type of thing, where you got the main cast, where the majority are not blonde or red-haired people, which if they were, I suspect you'd have a bigger return on investment. So if you did a focus group test, this cast you picked would probably get pretty low interest. And then if you did a second test and it all looked like what people were expecting, more red-haired and blonde characters, like all of them, look like what people had in their mind when they think of Dungeons & Dragons or Lord of the Rings or something like that, because they're all kind of loosely based on the same core stuff. Yeah, that would probably get more interest with your focus group, your test audience. And they know that because, people are pulling these movies together. They know that. It's like, yeah, we're not interested in putting butts in seats. You go, but when people see a diverse cast like this, they know the odds are good that the movie is going to be Mary Susan Purse Puppies and it's going to suck, because that's what the past 5, 10, 20 years has been like when you put, especially the past like at least 8 years, if you see a Pox character, they're not going to have any challenges because they're at the omega stage of their character development. They've already mostly arrived, where most stories are about a character growth, but you can't show a Pox character with any negative attributes or defects or faults that they have to overcome. So there's no point in watching the movies. It's like everything's just plastic on top of plastic. Anyway, it's okay to look at this stuff and like say the kinds of things I'm saying, because they don't have a counter argument to any of this stuff, because that's your lived experience. If you've been watching movies over the past 10 years, you know what they're putting on the table. And obviously millions of people agree because they're also not watching these movies. Anyway, you click the links, join the channel here, or the various other links if you want to mail me coffee or whatnot. And I will see you guys all next episode.